Because basically what you're talking about is you're talking about eliminating one position. And that is a very small chunk out of our entire budget. And so you get a short-term gain for a long-term headache. The only places, and I've looked at this, where this has been successful on a long-term basis is where it was instituted when you started both departments. So they knew nothing else but this director of public safety. So it's just a really bad idea in terms of morale. You would disrupt the morale and the operation of both departments for, you know what, $200, $250, $300,000 maybe in savings. I think that there are other places in public safety where we can look to find some real significant savings over the long run. And I think that's going to be in the pension area and the healthcare area. And so I would not look at it.
Okay, we have one more question, and then what we're going to do is going to do a social gathering where you can go up and ask the candidate the question yourself. Who had their hand up first? She had her hand up back there. Okay.
2 questions.
We'll take 2 questions then.
You've all said something about SunCal. We know SunCal is suing the city. What are the grounds for that suit? Do they have any chance of winning it? And how much money is going to be spent defending the city for that?
Now, could one person answer that, or do you want everyone to answer that?
Who wants to answer that question?
Okay, I'm going to answer this because I'm the lawyer of the group. Frankly, the only people who are going to make out like bandits on this are the lawyers for both sides. Well, yeah, always. Frankly, we don't think they have much of a case. And we are going to defend ourselves vigorously at every turn with the expectation that we will triumph in this case. We're not going to back down, and we're going to do what we need to do to protect the city. It's early days yet. We're just in discovery, which means both sides are trading massive amounts of documents back and forth. And we're just going to go forward and do what we need to do to defend the citizens of Alameda.
I think you're entitled to know what your mayor's going to do, and this mayor will defend the city. We will not settle. We're not going to let SunCal back in the door, and I think they need to know it. And people like the people in the citizens of Dublin who SunCal is angling for Camp Parks, they need to know it. This company needs to be pushed back because they're taking taxpayer dollars and they're putting it in their pockets. We can't let them do that. We can't let them do that this to Alameda.
Real quick, we wouldn't allow ourselves as a city to get into that compromising position if we hadn't gone out and got very, very strong legal advice and understand what we're going to be facing. We feel extremely comfortable that we are in a good position to defend ourselves. We will defend it vigorously, and we should. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I consider myself the grassroots candidate of this election, as I have not taken a single dollar from any outside sources. And so this is really, my campaign's really just been about word of mouth and just going old-fashioned and just talking one person at a time, and going back to the days when we had to talk about ideas and we had to look at the voters eye to eye and see what you guys were thinking. And we're back in the days when elections weren't bought and sold, and we were just talking about the whole thing of there's a saying, act or think globally, act locally. And so thank you very much.
think a big question on my mind is this. It escapes me how City Council allowed SunCal to become the developer in the first place in 2007, when clearly Catellus and Lennar were the leading frontrunners. It escapes my understanding how, in October 2008, City Council unanimously endorsed SunCal by extending the, by allowing SunCal to have a new financier. And the City Council unanimously endorsed SunCal in October 2007. It escapes my understanding how City Council unanimously in March of 2009 endorsed SunCal and their master plan that they were coming out with. So it is not correct to say that there was only one person, Councilmember Mataresi, who opposed SunCal. Because the fact of the matter is, in October 2008, he, along with all of his council members, supported SunCal. And again, in March 2009. If I was on City Council, I would have supported Catellus, because that was a developer who worked with us.
Okay, Debbie, you had a question.
Thank you. I have a question about development as well, but it pertains to Park Street. I'm with Park Street Business Association, and with the exit of all the car dealerships, our street, when you come across the bridge, it's very desolate looking. We have some developers now that are interested. We have one in particular, Bill Pua, who has been working on a project for over 3 years. And he has purchased the Kavanaugh building, and he has a big plan on what he's going to do there. With the sales revenues down in Alameda, this is really important to us to not only have the entrance to the city viable, but the sales revenues viable as well. And we have been, it seems like we're going against the board all the time in delay. So my question would be, or comment, if you don't want to answer it as a question, is that if there's any way that we could streamline the process for development so that it doesn't take 3 years. This guy has not even broke ground yet. He has 2 projects in Oakland that are completed. So that's my comment or question.
Thank you.
I'm finding on you guys.
No, I'm.
Sorry, you snooze, you lose.
Okay, I absolutely agree with you. One of my biggest problems with City Hall is that often our staff does not understand that for a business owner, time is money. It's that opportunity cost when you're trying to wait to get your project done and you're spinning your wheels, you can't get anything done. I think we definitely need to streamline the process, and it might not be in the sense that we're going to streamline it across the board, but maybe what we can do is if there's a big project coming in, like Mr. Pua's, we assign a team to that project, and Mr. Fua would have, or somebody in his shoes would have one point of contact, and it would be the same point of contact, and we would move it through that way. Because what I hear right now is that people will come down to the planning and building department and actually shop for a planner. Because sometimes the answer you get to a question differs based on whom you ask. And that leads to a lot of confusion, a lot of time delay, and a lot of money being frittered away. And so I think we really need to seriously think about assigning a team if we're talking about a big project.
I understand time is money. I own my own business. When I don't work or my work, there's no income. And I sympathize with Mr. Fua. Back in, I think it was 2003 when I first got on the council, we worked to put in the customer service improvement team, and that was mostly for residential permitting. It was very successful and improved the efficiency of the building and planning. Now fast forward to 2008, where in the first time that I've been on the council, we had to have layoffs, and the planning department was gutted because of the revenues were down, the permits were down because of the recession. And I think this is now the time to look at our policies because it's easy to say we can put a team together. Teams need bodies. What we have to do is put together a policy that says that for professional services, we can outsource them. And there are companies that provide as needed plan checks, as needed zoning checks. They could be done under contract for the city, so they're there when we need them. And that's one thing that I'm going to push.
I think we're all feeling the aches and pains of the down economy, and in doing so, we did make some major cuts in the planning department. And in doing so, we have allowed ourselves to be at the mercy of just a few people. We are moving in the right direction. What we are doing is making sure that we will be able to outsource some of that effort to make sure it moves forward. But it's much more than just that. It's an attitude at the city manager level in making sure that the staff is working the right direction and is dedicated. Let me tell you, and I'll tell you all honesty, since I've been on the council since 2004, I have never seen the staff more working together in harmony and knowing the direction, because you have to have a leader at the top. It's extremely important that we understand that you lead by example. We have visions that are already in place right now for the downtown civic center. It would normally take years to formulate those things. So we're moving quickly, and hopefully we will resolve those problems.
Yes, one of my mentors once told me that if you look up politician in an English dictionary, an American dictionary, it says somebody who knows self-interest and government. And the thing I found striking about that is nowhere in that definition was the word leadership. And so I plan to be a leader and somebody who wants to bring, like I said, more transparency to City Hall and make sure that we're more responsive. I don't think I have enough time to tell you guys about the complaints with the planning department that I've heard over time and time again. And I think we need to find a way to streamline it to make sure that the projects that are worth proceeding on go forward in a more timely fashion. Thank you.
Well, I hope one thing that you get out from me this evening is that I try as best as possible to be clear about what I want to do if elected mayor, what my priorities are. And I think it's important to indicate this from the outset in responding to your question, because when it comes to revitalizing our commercial district areas, whether it's a particular project like the one that you referenced, my priority first and foremost is getting Webster Street going. We've got a Webster Street plan that's been sitting in the books now for 4 years. We've got a city council who fortunately has brought it back and starting that process again, so kudos to them. But that's my priority, will be Webster Street. And I know maybe that might not be something that some members here might not want to hear, but as a future mayor of Alameda, I will always be clear with the residents about what my priorities are, but I'll also make sure to compromise and work with residents.
So I thank you all for your questions, and now it's an opportunity to get up close and personal and speak to the candidates personally and ask them your questions. There's still food sitting over here, and there's drinks in the other room. And again, we thank you, and we thank Cardinal Point and all you lovely residents.